okay?
Okay.
Very good.
Okay, so Mark, you will answer questions first. Mike, you will answer questions second. Danny, you will answer questions third tonight. Just to make it easy. Keep it the same every time. So I mean, people, maybe you'll get used to your voice a little bit. Now, let's see. Now, Mark, I didn't get a chance to speak with you earlier today, so I would like you, if you could, go ahead and introduce yourself for me tonight. My name is Amanda Veneth-Knoll. I am an organizer with 92 County Strategy, and tonight we're going to be holding our Activist Hour number 2 for the Township Trustee. Our goal is to make sure that we are teaching people how to be a part of their local community and what local offices are available to them that are attainable, that are rewarding, and are important to their community. So we advocate for progress through civic education. We do not allow cost or distance to be barriers to information and progress. We encourage political involvement for progressive activists. This is a group that is organized by progressive volunteers and activists from across the state of Indiana. And our first project, you guys are joining us tonight, this is actually our second webinar of this series. And the Activist Hour webinars are free of charge, very full of information, and happen twice a month. And they will all be available archived on our website afterwards within 48 hours. So in case you missed anything, you'll be able to go back and get it or share it with your friends. Tonight, our guest panelists are Danny Basham, Mark Fisher, Mike Oxenrider, and I'm hoping John will join us shortly. John Hollisenbeck will hopefully get a chance to join us this evening. So with that, I'd like to go ahead and just introduce our guests. We're going to start off with Mark Fisher. If you can tell us what position you hold and what township and county you're in, and how long you've been in that position.
I am a Jefferson Township trustee with Noble County. I'm serving my second term, which will expire the next election. My county, Noble Township, Jefferson, out of Albion, Indiana.
All right. Wonderful. Okay, and our next guest that's going to be speaking tonight will be Mike Oxenrider. And Mike, I know you told us you're actually from Tippecanoe County. Can you give us your position and how long you've been there?
Yeah, I'm actually on the Wabash Township Advisory Board out of Tippecanoe County, so I'm not a trustee. I'm part of a 3-member board that kind of checks on the trustees, so to speak. And Wabash Township is in Tippecanoe County. It's West Lafayette, which is essentially Purdue University and the surrounding countryside.
Wonderful. And how long have you been there?
Yeah, sorry. And I was elected in 2014, so I've been there about 2 years now.
Wonderful. Okay, and our third guest that we have with us right now is Danny Basham. Now, I've actually known Danny for a little while. We did some other things together, and I reached out to him. I was hoping that he would join us tonight. I think highly of him, and I would like you to go ahead and tell us a little about yourself, where you're from, what township you're in, how long you've been there.
Yes, ma'am. We reside in Scott County, Indiana, close to the Ohio River, Lexington Township. I've been involved in township government 23 years, 16 as an advisory board member and 7 as the trustee.
Wonderful, wonderful. So we have an array of viewpoints here with us tonight to get some good information. And we're going to go through a series of questions that I did give the guys earlier, so if they wanted to think about the answers, you guys get the best experience possible. So you are aware they did get these questions ahead of time. All right. So what we're going to do is just go through. I have about 8 or 10 questions for each of you. I may clarify something. If a chat question pops up, I'll be happy to ask it to our guests and get you an answer here live on the air tonight. So with that, if you could, Mark, go ahead and describe to us your idea, like what is your job as a trustee, and how many hours, how much time do you spend doing this?
Okay. Well, I have 3 cemeteries in my township. I'm responsible for keeping the records, who has deeds, selling the deeds, make sure they get the grave sites get mowed, and giving people information that might call. I have a guy that does the burial, opening, closing of graves. I also do township assistance for people that need help with electrical bills. And I keep the books, manage the money, and do the budget and the annual report at the end of the year.
Wow.
I spend,
yeah.
it varies from week to week. You know, it's hard to put a certain amount of hours. Some weeks I might spend 20, some weeks I might spend 3. So I'd say that it'd be a range anywhere from about 4 hours a week to 20, maybe more some weeks. So.
Okay, I understand. Okay. Well, we'll come back to you here in just a minute. Now, you are, like you said, you are in Allen County. So let's go down a little bit. Oh, Noble County. I wrote this wrong. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
I took notes and I took my notes wrong. Goodness gracious. Okay. So, Mike, you are from Tippecanoe County. So does your job as an advisory board member, can you explain to us a little bit what that is like and how you would interact with the trustee?
Sure. So our trustee is in charge of a lot of the same things that Mark was talking about before. But a big responsibility of our trustee's office is also the fire department. We have a volunteer fire department. Now, what my role is, I work with 2 other advisory board members, and we essentially get handed all the documents that the trustee gives us. And then and then we approve them, disapprove of them. Maybe she'll lean on us for advice. We look at her budget, and usually and then we approve of any bills, like if the trustee wants to purchase new gear for the fire department, or approve of upgrading this cemetery or chopping down these noxious weeds. Some of it has to be done in bill form, and when those things are, we essentially will approve of it, look at it, and approve of it. And that's essentially all what I do. As far as the amount of time I spend on it, I'll tell you, we meet maybe 5 times a year. And I maybe spend weekly, I can't even tell you how much time I spend weekly because that's negligible. When we're about to have a meeting, sometimes if it's a larger issue, she will send us things ahead of time, and then maybe I will spend an hour or so on it, and then the meeting itself will maybe last an hour and a half. Sometimes I'll get ambitious and do a lot of research and look at things ahead of time and try to maybe push her in a direction I think she should go, but she's pretty reticent to be pushed in any directions, so there's really not a whole lot of man hours I spend on this, to be honest.
Okay. So now I know that the trustee is elected. How do you get on the advisory board?
Same deal. I ran
also an elected.
Yeah, it's elected. It's at large. So we had, I think, 5 people run, and I was the only Democrat running, and I was also the only person that ran a campaign. So this, I'll just throw this in now. If anyone's interested in getting in politics, this is a great way. You're on a slate, or you're not on a slate. You're running. You're not running against one other person, so it's not as oppositional, so to speak. You're not really making any enemies, and you'll probably. I mean, maybe it's different in some of bigger communities, but I'm talking from Tippecanoe, Lafayette, Indiana, and it's the same here. No one's going to run a campaign. No one's going to run against you. And if you campaign, you don't have to have a website or a Facebook page. You just have to knock on like 2,000 doors, and you're most likely just by sheer effort going to get in, because it's almost just like a volunteer position, to be honest. I think the only reason they pay is, or the only reason it's elected is because they pay out of government tax dollars.
Oh, well, so I'll come back to. I want to check in with Danny, but that's actually my next question is how the pay scale works. So.
We live in a very poor county. One of the majority of what I do is financial assistance. We used to call it poor relief. And that was historically the main purpose of the trustee, is to take care of those that could not help themselves. Not necessarily unique to my township, but I'm the only trustee in the county who has a town park that he has to maintain.
Oh, that's nice.
I mow the grass and clean the gutters and the bathrooms and the ball fields and things of that nature. We also sell...
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Apologies, go ahead. No, I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
We also settle property line disputes between neighbors. I don't necessarily have any cemeteries. As far as time, the summer, it's mainly taking care of the park, and that's probably 10 plus hours a week. As far as regular duties, probably 5 to 10 hours a week.
Okay. So these are definitely part-time positions. These are things that it's really how much you want to get out of it is really depending on how much you put into it. As far as like the rewarding feeling you get when you serve your community. It sounds like something you can be really involved in, or maybe just, maybe do it in a different way.
Now, there are townships that are full-time trustees and have staff that could be 20 plus people.
Well, that's those big counties. That's not us. So let's see. Well, going back to what Mike was saying, Mark, if you could tell us, do you know how the pay scale, if you don't mind sharing with us, what does a trustee typically make in Noble County?
That varies. I think there's 13 trustees, and it varies. The pay scale varies. I'm not sure what some of them make, but some of them make up about $20,000 a year. My township, I make $7,200 a year. I have a trustee that makes $2,182, and I pay I have a 3-member advisory board. They get $600 a year.
Oh, okay. Okay. So that's not too bad, especially for a part-time job. And serving the community, we all know that serving the community is not glorious, nor does it pay well. You do it because of the feeling you get. So that's not too bad. Now, Danny, is that about comparable to what? Now, you said you have to take care of a park and maintain a park. So is yours about the same?
I make 10.4 a year, and my advisory board makes $900 a year. But we do have one trustee here that makes just over $30,000. The Austin Township.
Now, is that highly populated or more involved to run?
Yes, that is basically ground zero for the heroin and HIV epidemic that we had a couple of years ago. So he is an extremely busy person.
Right. Well, that's good. I'm glad that they have the flexibility to kind of put it where they need it. Now, Mark, you had said Mike, you're on the advisory board. So from what the other gentleman has said this evening, the advisory board in their townships earn quite a bit less, and you had kind of described that it is a little bit of a more minimal position that you have. So do those pay scales sound about on point for where you are in Tippecanoe County?
So I get $2,500 at the end of each year,
okay.
which is pretty large, I would say, especially for the amount of work that I do.
Okay.
Our trustee gets about 30. The Lafayette, across the river, our Lafayette trustee gets about 50. Now, trustees, if I believe, can set their own budget by Indiana state law, and they just need the advisory board to approve of it. Obviously, you want to be responsible with that kind of stuff, but if some of these larger townships or more populated townships like Monroe County, they run a homeless shelter out of theirs, out of their township, or maybe that was Perry. I'm not sure exactly, but it varies all around, to be honest. Some trustees run it out of their house, and some have actual offices and staff, like you were saying. So it really depends on the population centers, I think, and what they need for it.
I see. Well, that's good. I really like the idea of being able, the areas that are struggling more get more funding and have more time committed to the community. I think that's kind of a really great way to do it, as long as the communities are actually getting what they need. So that's great. I really appreciate you putting that out there. I know normally, in polite society, we don't like to talk about pay, but we can all look it up online. There's actually, if we get on to the next slide, I do believe we will take questions, but I do believe that you can go online to, we'll come back to this one. You can go online there to gatewayifionline.org, and you can actually go through there. You're going to click here where that red arrow is, and you can look to see exactly what public employees get paid in your area. So you would click on employee compensation right there, and then you would be able to go in there, enter your township, and look and find out exactly who makes what. So it's all right there. They put this stuff in the newspapers. It was public notice. And once they started putting it on this website, it was decided, since it's a public website, that it no longer needed to be in the newspapers. But, we still have counties that don't have high-speed internet, so what do you do? Now, if we want to go ahead and go back to those previous slides that we had there. Now, if we have any questions, there's nothing coming through in the chat, but if you'd like to drop a question in the chat room, we'd be happy to take that and answer it for you tonight. We'll stop for questions again in a minute. Now, the offices for the township trustee, you're elected by the voters with living within the township, right? So
Yes.
you have to be a resident of the township, and it's a 4-year job. And then you have the board. So we have the advisory board represented here tonight, and we have the trustee represented here tonight. So when you decide to run for this, you need to know that your basics, what you guys have told us tonight, you have emergency assistance, poor relief, you have fire and EMS management, cemetery management, parks and recreation, the accounts payable, receivable, financial records, the annual reports, and let's see, could you, Danny, and I'm going to skip to Danny on this one just because he's been in it the longest. Could you describe to me what a township meeting is like?
Well, we meet at a central location in the middle of town. We meet at the firehouse. All the meetings are open to the public. We discuss, the budget, how much money's left, how much money has been spent, if there are any needs of the township. Recently, we were discussing funeral expenses. We pay for, we're required by law to pay for indigents who die in your township. And cost is becoming an issue with some of the funeral homes. So we've been discussing how to work with that. I normally get 1 or 2 requests for burial assistance a year.
Oh, wow. Now, I know this is all, obviously, it's government funded. Is there a way to donate money to the Township Trustee to help out with things like this?
Yes. Anyone can write a check to the Township Trustee, or they can designate what it's for if they would like it to go to the park. Those receiving assistance can also pay back that money if they choose to do so. And we can also get reimbursed from Social Security if the person we're helping has applied for those benefits.
Oh, well, that's really good to know. So if people wanted to donate to their trustee, you could go, if you're on the webinar online right now, you'll see it talks about townships in Indiana. You can actually find out who your current township trustee is at the website listed on the slide. We'll put that up on our in92.org within the next 48 hours, and you'll be able to get all of these links. Now, I know, so I've heard, now let's see, Mark, maybe you can help me out with this here. So township trustees must be bonded and insured. Could you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, I think I think you got to carry, in my case, I have to carry a $30,000 bond, which I renew every year.
Okay. And could you explain maybe, give an example for someone listening why you would need that? Why is that required? Well,
you're responsible for quite a bit of money, and
okay.
So I'm assuming that's the reason they want you to be bonded. So there's some insurance that money gets taken care of, right?
Right, absolutely. Okay, and then if you, I'm not sure, do you mind sharing how much an insurance like that might cost?
I
if
think
not,
I pay
understand. I just don't know.
I think I pay about $200 a year for that.
About $200 a year. Well, that's not too bad. Okay, no. And then let's see. And then there, if you're online, you can see that there's a gateway link. And then we do have some questions coming in. Give me just 1 second here. You guys, let's see. I am going to go ahead and throw this one out here. Mark, we'll go ahead and continue with you. Do you know if in someone that lives in a city ward. Is there an equivalent to a township trustee or an advisory board in a city ward?
We have a city ward. We have an Albion Township, which is the smallest township in Indiana, I think. So
Okay.
most, I really don't know. I don't have any towns, unincorporated towns in my. There are towns. There are unincorporated towns in other townships, and then so.
Okay. No, that's okay. I don't know either. So, Danny, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
The whatever township that city resides in, the trustee is also responsible for that.
Okay, so essentially, even for a city ward, there's a township trustee.
Yes. That's how it works in Scott County. The township absorbs the poor relief for the city.
Okay. All right. Well, we will make sure that is, we'll make sure of that. Gina, I appreciate that question. And if you can email that to us, we will get clarification just to be sure. But it sounds like, I mean, I feel like Danny would know. He's been doing it for a long time. So, but if you'll email that to us at 92counties@gmail.com, and we will make sure that you get an answer to that right away. We also have another question, Michael. Mike wanted to know if you could describe what various ways you give township assistance, especially if they're already receiving assistance from Social Security. Danny?
Social Security counts as their income, and as long as it meets the guidelines for your township, they are still eligible to receive assistance in the form of utilities or food or medicine.
Oh, well, that's really good that so you guys can actually help with medication.
Yes.
Wow. That's something, one of the reasons we started doing this is because everybody can tell you what a senator does, but not everybody can tell you what a township trustee does. And it is one of the most important on-the-ground, in-touch elected officials that we have. And to not understand what that does in your community is a real disservice to our citizenry. So the goal with 92 County Strategy is to teach people about this so they can learn how to get involved and learn what resources are out there. Because I'm sure there's people that will listen to this that may need some of the services you provide, and I surely hope there are some people that listen to this that decide they want to follow in your footsteps. So hopefully we'll get to both of those people tonight. Now, I did want to ask a couple other questions. We've gone quite a bit through this. Now, you've talked about how long these jobs take, how many hours, how much time they take out of your life. Do any of you hold other positions? And if so, what else do you do? I'm not sure. Let's start with Mark. Do you hold any other positions?
Yes, I am the Noble County Highway. I work for the Noble County Highway Department. I'm the bookkeeper.
Oh, okay.
Plus, I do this trustee job part-time. So I have a full-time job plus this job.
Okay. Wonderful. That's great. That's a lot. Goodness. Okay, so Danny, I know you are a retired paramedic now. So do you just not just, I mean, it's a huge deal. Are you only involved with the trustee now, or do you do anything else as well? Other than being an amazing grandpa to those beautiful grandbabies that I see all over Facebook?
It's my favorite job. I also teach EMS classes. I'm self-employed. I flip houses and have rentals and things like that. So I stay fairly busy.
Just a little bit. And Mike, what about you? I know you've been there since 2014, so it's a shorter amount of time. So do you do other things as well?
Well, I do. I'm actually currently kind of putting feelers out for other types of communications or marketing positions out there. So if anyone knows of anything, let me know. But I do work. I work part-time for an organization that takes care of the developmentally disabled in my community.
Oh, okay.
And in Indianapolis as well. They're called Community Ventures and Living. And so
that's wonderful.
Thanks. I mean, I like it. It's rewarding, and it's kind of goes in line with my interests. I got into this township business for two reasons. One, I thought it was accessible. No one else was running for it, and I thought it was accessible to kind of get my feet wet in the political system. And two, because of township relief. I'd seen what some other communities in Allen County, Fishers, Indiana, and down in Bloomington, what they've done with their township offices, and thought maybe if I got involved, I could kind of help fight poverty and seek new solutions to kind of improve some of these people's lives that are seeking township assistance. Because we can be really flexible with this office if the trustee is willing. There's a lot of the language in the books is shall, or as opposed to I'm kind of unclear how to explain this, but a lot of the language allows for a lot of flexibility in township assistance. Some townships have actually give grants out to other nonprofits or other organizations and have them help stem the tide of poverty. So it's a weird office, and it really gives you a good idea of what is going on in your specific community. So if anyone's interested in volunteering in their community or helping out, and they're interested in political office, it's a great way to kind of bridge those two, because you can do a lot with the office.
Okay. So we're going to go, thank you for that. We're going to go over how to file to run for township office now, just quickly, and then answer any questions you may have regarding that for our listeners. Don't forget to drop those in the chat. I'll be happy to answer those as best we can, or get answers for you within a couple of days. So filing for office for the township is not too difficult. What you'll have to do is go to the county courthouse in January, and they'll have the forms out, and you'll file what's called a CAN-2 form, CAN-2. That's the name of the form, and you just fill it out stating that you want to file for the township office. And you'll need to talk to your county clerk about any campaign finance filings for the office of interest. So the office you want to run for, if you're going to spend money on your campaign, you definitely need to make sure that as soon as you decide to run, you're talking to your county clerk about any filings you will need to handle. And make sure you are very diligent on your finance records. That is the most important part of this. Now, if you decide to claim a party affiliation, your most recent primary vote is going to have to match whatever affiliation you claim, or the county chairman of the party you wish to claim must certify that you're a party member. So if for some reason you voted one way for 20 years and you voted once another way, and your county chairman says, no, they really are a part of this party, it was just that one time, they can go ahead and run, then you can do that. But the easiest thing to remember is whatever you voted in the last primary is what your affiliation you would have to run as, unless you claim, something else. So it's not too difficult. If you just, you fill out a couple of papers, keep track of your money, and when you're talking about running for township trustee, like Mike said, you just knock on your doors. You knock on 2,000 doors, maybe less in some areas, maybe a few more in others, maybe send out a letter, and you're good. Nobody campaigns for these offices. These are offices that can touch so many people in the community and do so much good in the community. All you have to do is just run for them. So if you're interested in doing that, you have questions, anything you need to know, you can always email us, drop them in the chat, we'll answer your questions, and we'll be able to make sure that we keep informing all the citizens of Indiana and every county how to get involved at every single level of politics and their elected government. So don't forget, you can email any questions again to 92 counties. And so that's the conclusion of our presentation this evening. But I did want to ask just a couple of personal questions because, you know, part of this is getting people to understand that the people that hold these offices and make these decisions are everyday people. You know, they feel like sometimes politicians are unattainable. You know, they're unreachable. You can't get them to understand. And a lot of these offices are just normal, everyday people. So I would like each of you to tell me the absolute best part of your job, the absolute worst part of your job, and why you would encourage people to run. And if we have enough time, maybe a little story at the very end about something that really touched your heart working with the community in your job. So Mark, if you would go first, if you could tell me something you like, something you don't like, and what your advice would be to someone considering running for this office.
Well, since I have an accounting background, you know, I enjoy the accounting part of the job. You know, you get satisfaction by helping provide services to people. You help out with the with the parks and recreation for the youth in the county. You know, it's a rewarding job that you get an opportunity to learn about government and to help people at the same time. What two things I don't like about my job is it seems like you get calls at the most. People wait too long to ask for help, and it's always an emergency and has to be done right away. And sometimes you get calls at pretty weird times at night.
Some pretty weird calls at night. You know, I can imagine. I can imagine. So, okay, so if someone was considering running for township trustee, what is something that you would tell them? What piece of advice, or what would you tell them to make sure that they consider before they decide to run for the office?
Well, they got to like working with people, and you got to like the book work. You got to be good with numbers. There's got to understand the computer nowadays. With the gateway, and so you have to have pretty good knowledge of that.
Right.
That would be
okay.
My suggestion.
Okay, I mean, those are really good. Be like people, understand the computer for gateway, and then, you know, I'm sorry, my son come and hugged me so he could go to bed. I lost my train of thought. But yes, being able to work with people and being able to help people and making sure that they come to you and come to you early. I understand, you know, a lot of people, like I said, they don't know about this office, so they don't know until it's too late. And pride just plays such a big role, I think, in it anymore. People are just too proud to ask for help. And so they wait, and then they're stuck. So I can definitely relate to that. Mike, now you're on the advisory board, so what things would you say, you know, what do you like most about your job? What's hard for you, and what would you recommend to other people if they were considering going out for advisory board versus township trustee?
Well, what I like about it is I do like that we give out township assistance to people. We, actually what I like that obviously, but my favorite thing is hearing about these old stories of the community that you'll hear, because it is so low to the ground, so to speak. You just hear these really old stories about what's happened with the farmland or the old cemetery, and there's a lot of history with the office, I guess, and so that's really interesting to me. We get these old newspaper clippings, and we kind of memorialize people who helped set up the first volunteer fire department or something of that sort. That's pretty fascinating and pretty interesting. I guess as far as the negative is it, so one of the things that I constantly run against or come up against is that we get these bills or these amendments that we're supposed to look at, approve of finances, and we get them the night of. So, and that's often always difficult. The whole, your name is going on something that you're approving or disapproving of before you really know the full scope of it. And that's a lot of this, and the fact that no one really knows about the office, so people that need relief don't even think to come here. And no one attends any of the meetings hardly ever. It's very rare that you'll see somebody attend a meeting because they don't even know that the meetings exist. It's maybe published in the paper. And by statute, it's supposed to be published, but there's just so little involvement at this level that you kind of feel like sometimes like you're really not doing any real good. And as far as advice that I would recommend to people running for Township Advisory Board, I would say do it. That's my first advice. If you're thinking about it, do it, because there's so much, it's like I said, it's one of these offices that no one really knows about. No one's going to campaign for. It's an at-large seat. So if you're running, you're not necessarily taking on somebody that's been embedded in the community forever that people are going to hate you if you run against. Instead, you're going against one of 3 or 4 different people who they're just putting their name on there because they were asked to by somebody, likely, because a lot of these places have, in our area, these positions are given out almost by appointment by the local Republican Party because no one does run. So they're scrambling to get people to just serve in it because there's so little of interest. And then you get some numbers, and honestly, you get to tell people that you got elected to a position, which is a little sense of pride, and it's a good way to kind of test the waters as how interested in the political aspect of it as opposed to the job aspect, but the political aspect, how much you really want to be involved politically. Because when most people think about politics, they think of Congress or Senate or mayor as opposed to one of these lower down ballot things, which in my opinion, these down ballot, maybe not township, well, no, township too, these down ballot races have more influence on your everyday lives than what's going on in Congress, at least directly. So that's my advice. Do it, and then get a friend, because if you're on the advisory board, it's a 3-person advisory board. If you're on the advisory board and it's just you and you're in the minority party, you really don't have much of a say in anything. Although you get to learn how to try to convince people as being in the minority. So. That's my pitch.
I can see how that would be frustrating, especially when you're trying to get something good accomplished. So now, Danny, I'm going to ask it a little bit differently of you, because you have been a trustee for 7 years, and then you were on the advisory board for quite a while before then. So I would like your opinion, which one has been the most rewarding for you? And again, the same thing. What would your recommendation be to anyone that were considering running for each office?
Well, I found both of them rewarding. And when I ran, it was not because somebody had done something wrong. Our trustee retired, and he mentored me. So I got a head start, and I could always call him and ask, and always had good advice. But the trustee part is what I found probably the most satisfying. It can be difficult at times, and it's all about community. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
You really, to be a trustee, you can't just hide in your office and do the minimum. You really need to get out there and be part of your community and let them know you're there.
Yeah, I'm here.
Even if even if they never come to you for assistance or help, just being part of it, just having that name and that office out there on occasion, and then just letting them know that you're doing the job is important.
Right. Right. Well, and right now, a lot of this animosity and anger we're seeing at the ground level. I feel like if these people were aware of trustees and what they can do to help them and how they can carry their voices for them and help echo their concerns to other people, I feel like they would have a lot better outcome. So I really appreciate you guys talking so much about all the different things that you do within the trustee's office this evening, because this has been kind of an eye-opening thing. I didn't realize that the trustee was involved with so many different parts of the community. To know that is pretty amazing, and I can't wait to see how many people decide to run for Township Trustee in 2018, because I feel like the activists that are floundering right now, that really can't find a home, that don't really know what to do next, I feel like that these offices are perfect offices for them, because you really get back to the root of why you got involved in the first place, and that is truly helping people. And I feel like that's what the trustee's office does.
This is John Holzenbeck. Did I log on here late?
Oh, John, hi. Yeah, it started at 9. We're actually finishing up. Everybody, John Holzenbeck is joining us today.
I thought
John, we're hi. We're about to wrap up, but that's okay. I wanted to find out, what would you, so John, if you want to mention just quickly, what county are you out of, and what township?
We're out of Noble County, Allen Township. I was
Okay.
I've been out of office for 4 years. I spent 16 years doing the job as a part-time job, and I really loved doing this. My wife worked in there too, and she took care of the office, and I took care of the fire departments and the cemeteries and the flags, and I really like the assisting people. I got a lot of personal satisfaction out of the job.
That's really good to hear. So just out of curiosity, so what, we got to wrap it up here, but what advice could you give to other people that may be considering running for this?
Try it. It's a good deal. It's a good part-time job in the small townships, and in the big townships, it's a good job. I mean, there's a lot of self-satisfaction out in there, helping people, and there's so many things out there that can be done that people don't even know it's out there.
Right. Right. Absolutely. So, you were a trustee for 16 years, and if you were to say, you know, running for a trustee versus running for advisory board, because we've got Mike here, he's an advisory board member, and a couple of trustees here. So what is your opinion of a trustee versus advisory board? Real quick, it was a question we had in the chat that would like to be answered.
Well, advisory board is just an advisory board. They really have no real pressure over the trustee. He's supposed to listen to them, but I think some people get in the advisory board part thinking they can change the whole world. And, you know, there's things in there that do need changing, but there's a lot of good things go on. A good advisory board is really important. And I was lucky the whole time I had a good advisory board. And if I wanted to do it, they usually said, go ahead and do it, you know. And
Right.
You just got to be vigilant and do your book work. My wife was really good at that.
Yeah. Well, that sounds really good. I'm really glad that you got to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
We did things like we found people jobs, and one time we got diapers from Walmart by the truckloads, and we just kept them in our office and give them out to mothers, and things like that. The food pantries, we could help.
Wow.
Really, really satisfying. Sorry I was late.
No, you know what, that's totally okay. Maybe we can get you on for something else later on and get to have a nice conversation with you. Unfortunately, that does pretty much bring us to the end of the conversation this evening. I do want to address one comment that is in the chat room right now. Gina Unger has made a comment that women are often undervalued in our ability to contribute, and you know what, Gina, I agree with you. Coming up here in, I do believe, July, we are going to be having a special women's episode about women running for office, and I'm going to send out teasers about who our guests will be, so make sure you tune in for that. But, guys, I really want to thank you again tonight, Mark, Danny, Mike, John. It's been great, and I really appreciate the conversation, and I hope maybe we can get together and do something again in the future.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda.
All right. Well, thank you, guys. If you need anything, if anybody has any questions about the presentation you saw tonight, or if you have any other questions you'd like to have answered, I'll be happy to make sure we get an answer to you. Just, again, email us at 92counties@gmail.com, and we will see you on the flip side 2 weeks from tonight at 9 p.m. We will be having an encore presentation of our first webinar, which was an introduction to the 2018 long ballot year. So a lot of information in that. If you kind of want a crash course on what's coming up, tune in and we'll get you some information. So everybody have a great night, and if you have any questions, let us know.
Thank you.
Thank you.